Government 2030.
Surprising.
Architecting society's augmented intelligence. The very reason of our success as human species is our capacity for augmentation. We augment our minds and our bodies through tools like weapons, like language. More importantly, we augment our individuals by inventing collaborative organizations and social frameworks. We are convinced at MIT that the advent of artificial intelligence is nothing but the next natural step in human augmentation. And what do we mean by this? The first message that we want to convey today to world government leaders is that we should shift focus from a vision of the future of AI in society, from this type of vision where robots replace and take over human beings, to a much more realistic and relevant vision of a society of augmented intelligence. This society, as constructed by individuals, organizations, and algorithms, forming a rich network of interactions. So these interactions being between humans and algorithms in a multiplicity of forms that can go from simple information processing and representation to assisting strategic decision making to automation of operations. So we have talked about this vision of society on the advent of artificial intelligence, which has these two characteristics. It's hybrid nature, and second, it's a distributed nature. So therefore, what's the role of governments? The role of governments in the context of this augmented intelligence society, well, it goes twofold. First of all, it goes, and the simple one and the closest one in time is, well, what can government do to improve the delivery of government services, right? So this is the simple one, and let's start with that. This is a visualization of, it was developed by CACS researchers in Saudi Arabia in collaboration with MIT. What we're looking at is Riyadh, that's the capital of Saudi Arabia, and we're looking at anonymous traces of millions of individuals moving throughout the day, going to home and work. So what does this visualization, what does this unprecedented data gives us? Well, for instance, if we want to assess the impact of introducing Uber to a city and see if the promises of Uber of decreasing congestion happen, well, we can introduce it and see. If we want to see what happens if we decrease tariffs of public transportation or answer questions as where should we put the next subway system, well, we can introduce those policies and assess the consequences in real time, because this information is gathered by mobile phones, for instance, and it's gathered in real time. So how is this transformative of the policy process? Well, this is transformative of the policy process because first, we have unprecedented data, detailed. Second, we can issue predictions that are relevant for policy. With this also, it assists us in policy formulation, and most importantly, it assists us in policy evaluation, closing the loop, which can revolutionize policymaking in the same way that rapid prototyping revolutionized software and hardware development. So, of course, I've just talked about a basic example with transportation, but you can read cutting-edge research on this exact type of framework for transportation, labor markets, justice, energy, health, etc. However, that's not what I want to talk the most today, and this is the second message that we really want to convey to world government leaders, which is the focus should not be on this type of applications right now. That is the most comments that you hear in even talks today, in the past days in the summit, but really the big challenge and the key role of the government, of the future government in the context of the advent of artificial intelligence is its role in architecting the frameworks that are needed for a society of augmented intelligence to flourish, to increase welfare while preserving fairness and ethics. So, and that's a big challenge. So let's talk about it a little bit. So what type of frameworks are we talking about? So let me give you first a line of action. First is, well, society's nervous system, and that is the ecosystem of data and transactions that are needed for enhancing and allowing that society of augmented intelligence to function. And so what type of things, what type of frameworks are there? Well, human-centered privacy and ownership frameworks. These are technologies that are already being developed, but we encourage governments to get involved because researchers are developing them. So what type, there's like personal data stores, there is data unions that put the person in ownership of the data and in control. There's other things like data security, and there's technologies that are being developed like multi-party computation where the data can be distributed and stay there, yet you can compute, algorithms can compute across data even if it's not physically present in the same location. Smart digital contracts and blockchain. Second, again, this is of course a quick presentation, but please approach us and approach researchers because it's relevant to engage government. Secondly, society in the loop framework. Society in the loop frameworks basically means that humans and society needs to provide the expectations and value functions for algorithms, and it needs to be evaluating thoroughly the outputs of these algorithms. There are several technologies along these lines, and again, please approach us and talk about it. But this goes from OPAL, which is open algorithms, transparent algorithms, to algorithmic technologies for algorithmic accountability and technologies for algorithmic fairness. That is how to encode algorithms that are not only optimized, but are also constrained by ethics and fairness. So, and thirdly, and to finish, of course, there will be shifts when we go towards this augmented intelligence society, and shifts in labor. And so we do need an education, a revolution in education, and the government needs to be a leader on this. And so, for instance, you can imagine the future of governments less as today's bureaucracies and more like what a Google office looks like, and that needs a strong revolution in education. And second, there's vulnerable segments of society that needs to be attended so that we avoid the effects that, for instance, globalization had on sectors that were forgotten by globalization, and today we have consequences like Brexit.